We have the opportunity to make a habit of empathy, to recognize ourselves in each other.
Are those needs getting met? And then the body communicates within itself to us about how it feels. And that's not a conscious process. The cascade of neurotransmitters that produce feeling states are not consciously done as part of the autonomic nervous system. So if I have this process going on that's interpreting the world around me and I feel anxious, I may not immediately know why I feel anxious. But it's like, oh, I can turn to that, oh, I'm feeling anxious. What's going on? What interpretation am I making of the world? And one way to talk about that interpretation is to say, what need of mine is not being met if I'm feeling anxious? So the feeling is coming out of the need, out of the interpretation of the need met or not met. So I'm silent empathy, I'm observing, I'm checking what my feeling is, trying to identify what need the feeling is coming out of, the interpretation of whether it's met or not met. And then do I have any requests, or if the person that I'm guessing silently about, are they making a request? Are they wanting something here? What might that request be? And if I can identify it, then it, again, helps me connect with them. If I say, are you telling me this because you really want me to do X, Y, and Z? And they go, they may not even be really clear about it themselves. They go, oh, yeah. That's something that I can do in meetings. I empathize in meetings all the time, what I would call empathy, but I think the other people in the room are not experienced with the training and background I've had. They just experience as someone who's trying to understand what's going on, trying to move the meeting along, trying to just, get his own needs met. They wouldn't use that language of getting his own needs met, but he's just trying to be in the meeting, trying to be effective, and trying to move things along. That's what it seems like to me. So I use silent empathy all the time to create this kind of nonverbal connection with people, and then to inform what I might ask is going on. So if someone is distressed, I'd say, are you feeling irritated here because you're just not getting heard in this meeting the way you'd like to get heard? Is there something you're passionate that you want us to hear? And they might say yes, they might say no, but then my silent empathy has informed my guess of what to do in a real life situation. Mainly I've been trying to identify empathy as I live it and as I offer it as a life skill to people, to either empathize with themselves or empathize with another person. And particularly in conflict situations, that's my particular focus of providing learning situations for people to learn how, provide trainings for people to learn how to deal in conflict situations. And the core skill in conflict situations is to empathize, to first be able to connect with myself about all that comes up with me around conflict, then to connect with the other person, so to speak, to get them, for them to trust that they've been understood, and for me to have a level of understanding, and then to support them to be understood and heard, for the other person to empathize with them, and do that in a process of a series of requests on my part of, are you willing to say that you heard this first person has a need for respect, if that's what the first person said. So using these basic skills to support people through the process of empathy so that each person will get heard the way they want to get heard.
I've looked at empathy from the mirror neurons approach, and I've seen NVC as a way of deepening empathy, that we have empathy all the time, and that the process of using that NVC has developed is a way of kind of building on that and deepening it. Does that seem like...
Well, I've read something about mirror neurons in the popular sort of public books on science, like the most recent one that I've been reading is Brain Rules, R-U-L-E-S. And there's a little piece in there on mirror neurons. To me, to try to go from the science of mirror neurons, first of all, which I don't know all that well, or I can't even say I know it. I sort of, at this popular level, I have some understanding of it, to then extend it. I mean, my guess is that it absolutely, that NVC is just kind of recognizing that NVC has been developed as a process, a set of insights that help operationalize doing what we already have a kind of intuitive sense of doing. There's nothing really new in NVC. It's a synthesized, but in its synthesis, it's new as far as I can tell in human culture. Can't claim to have done an exhaustive research on it. But it seems to me that what Marshall Rosenberg has added is the quality of needs. And he was building upon the work of a teacher of his, a well-known psychologist in the mid-20th century, called Carl Rogers. And Rogers was talking around the idea of needs and may even use the word needs, but Marshall has taken all these wisdom traditions and stripped away the metaphors in the traditions and then turned it into to operationalize the language that you would use if you were implementing the principles of these wisdom traditions, and including the wisdom that came from Carl Rogers and all the people whose shoulders he stood on. So yes, I think there's something new that Marshall has contributed in needs, but still there are people, we all know people that are just, they've worked it out in their lives, and they have this kind of innate wisdom, this capacity to sit with them, and you just trust that what you're saying matters, that your pain is significant to them, and that they can hear you without getting agitated or upset or into your story or trying to give you advice or to get inside your story, and that they can just be with you when you're in your distress. And that's what we so long for when we're in distress. You know, when we're deathly ill or something, and there's so many people report they just don't want to be with other people because the other people get so upset and agitated. What they want is someone who's just able to be with them where they are in their life. And that's what we all want from very small children at every stage of our life. We just want to have people with us that can help us sort it out ourselves, that we can get some clarity about what all this is that's churning around inside of us. And that I'm just pointing at is something called empathy or empathic presence. And sometimes you can use words to demonstrate that you're empathically present with someone, and sometimes we all know people in our lives, it's just hanging out in their space is really satisfying. We may not have words for it. I didn't have words for it. You know, for 45 years of my life, I didn't have words for it. So